Welcome to Stories After Midnight. Today we're going to be reading part 6 of Clean Slate. This is a story that was written by Jarrett. It's a true crime. I hope you're enjoying it so far if you've been listening along. Let's get started. December 12th, 1969. Julie left without a plan, without speaking to the police. Only an address scribbled on a sticky note, a map of the eastern United States, and the hollow ache of adrenaline as its remnants leaked from her bones. It was just past 4 when she merged onto the highway, the horizon already bruising purple. The snowfall started outside Boston, sparse at first, a few lazy flakes drifting down and vanishing against the salt-streaked asphalt, smudged away by her wipers working overtime. By the time she crossed into New York, it thickened. The wipers squealed across the glass, every mile marker passed slower than the last. Glancing in her mirrors, she adamantly stayed on the lookout for anyone following. Once or twice, the same black sedan pulled up close behind her, but both times they drifted into the left lane and passed her. She stayed in that slower right lane. Every slip of the tires made her stomach lurch. The last thing she wanted to do was end up in a ditch. The drive was supposed to take 7 hours, maybe 8. The cities blurred past, Newark, Wilmington, Baltimore, each one a faint yellow array of lights drifting past the horizon, shrouded behind a wall of snow. By the time she reached the Maryland line, the sun had disappeared altogether. She had to stop and sleep for the night. Pulling off the freeway, she found a dingy motel, paid $10 for the room, showered, and then crashed. She was up at 9 the next morning and resumed her drive. The roads narrowed and the signs grew less frequent. Julie read the address again, even though she knew the words by heart. She studied the map she kept in the glove compartment. Her route would be a rural one, mainly side roads. A left turn past an abandoned gas station, a dirt path after that. The last half hour she drove alone through the woods in dewy morning fog so dense that the headlights barely illuminated the path ahead of her. Her mind drifted despite herself. Burke's gun, the roar of it, the way his head snapped back when he killed himself. God, what a mess. She pulled herself back to the present as a break appeared in the trees. An iron gate sat perched open. The sign bolted to the stone pillar read, "The Bradley Institute for Medical Research and Development, private access only." The open gate bothered her. Wouldn't they lock it? Well, no, why bother, especially being so remote and isolated? Then again, what if they were expecting her? Realizing she had come too far and was in too deep to turn back, Julie pulled up to the gate and killed the headlights. For a moment, she simply sat there staring through the frostbitten glass. Mustering up her dwindling courage, she drove through the gate and parked in one of the lots. She snatched her bag full of Henry's files, reached for the door handle, and stepped out into the cold. The wind fluttered and kicked up powdery bouts of snow. There were a few other cars, but the wind made it difficult to ascertain make and model. Strangely, there were no tire tracks, no visible signs of life. Was she in the right spot? Julie wiped her palms against her damp wool coat and took the first step forward, the snow crunching under her boots, the building looming ominously before her. The Institute was a towering 3-story brick front with Art Deco architecture. With its perching gargoyles and pointed Empire State Building-esque spire, it looked like something built in the 20s or 30s. Every fiber of her being told her to run back to her car, fire it up and drive back home. But she knew that wasn't going to happen. She was in too deep and needed answers. A thought struck Julie Isley as she pulled open the front entrance. I'm not going to leave this place, am I? She walked in anyway. A waiting room awash with clinical white awaited Julie as she stepped inside. Stark contrast to the old vintage appearance the building gave on the outside. White marble floors glistened from overhead lighting. White furniture adorned the waiting areas. White diamond chandeliers hung skyward. A receptionist, her white name tag read out as Lucille Weaver, called out, smiling warmly. "Miss, can I see you over here, please?" Julie obeyed. "How can I help you?" Lucille asked. "Yes, I'm a reporter and I was hoping to speak to someone in charge." Lucille's smile stiffened. "Well, in charge of what department?" Julie played dumb. I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm kind of new on the job." Julie wished she knew how to blush on demand. "Oh, that's fine," Lucille laughed. "I'm not too far along myself." After a moment of Julie rummaging, Lucille added, "I have a department directory if you'd like to see it, just to jog your memory." "Sure, that would be great," Julie smiled. Lucille retrieved a laminated slip of paper and slid it across the desk. The Bradley Institute, Administrative Directory, effective as of November 1st, 1969. Founder and Executive Director, Dr. Bradley Kessler. Director of Medical Advancement Operations, Dr. Zachary Bryant. Director of Psychological Assessment Wing, Dr. Celeste Wyman. Director of Research and Development, Dr. Jack Simpson. Director of Family Services Coordination, Dr. Grant Collier. Director of Institutional Security Oversight, Captain Matthew Delano. Head of Logistics and Special Courier Services, Mr. Randall Spear. Coordinator of Reintegration Liaison Unit, Mrs. Irene Wallace. Julie only had to read the first line to know who she needed to speak to. She jabbed her finger at the sheet and told Lucille, "Yes, with Dr. Kessler." Lucille's gaze narrowed. "Are you sure?" "Yep." "You must be mistaken, Mrs. Isley. Julie Isley, and why am I mistaken?" "Because Dr. Kessler doesn't arrange interviews with the press." "Just ask. I was told by your public relations department that he would speak with me." "And just what does this interview pertain to?" "That's between me and Dr. Kessler." Lucille caved but eyed Julie suspiciously. "Okay, let me just call upstairs." She punched some numbers on her phone, held the receiver up to her ear and said, "Yes? Hello, yes. Sorry to bother you, but there's a woman here to see you and—" "Yes, sir, I know. She held the phone away from her ear and told Julie, "Sorry, Dr. Kessler has no scheduled appointments today. He's busy in the lab. Are you sure it's him?" "Really? Your medical lab has phones? How convenient. I saw your console. You called his office." Lucille flushed. "Yes, it is quite convenient. Now please leave." That did it. Julie glowered at the receptionist and dug into her purse, snatching the contents of Henry's folder. She chucked the bundle onto Lucille's desk. The receptionist, startled, jumped back in her seat as the paper landed with a heavy thud. Julie leaned over the desk and sneered. "If you don't get him down here, I have a contact who will release everything in there to every major paper and news organization in the country. If you make a move, or I don't call into them in the next hour, everything gets leaked. Everything. So you tell him that he better get down here and explain why he's abducting children." Lucille looked stunned. She blanched, her lips sputtering like an old engine, but no words escaped her lips. "Tell him," Julie said coldly, a new wave of indignant rage coursing through her brain. Yes, ma'am." Lucille placed the white phone receiver back against her ear, replayed the message to the doctor on the other end, braced herself for a verbal lashing, apologized, then hung up. "He'll be right down. You can sit over there." Lucille pointed to a waiting room in the lobby, furnished with small white plastic chairs. "I'll stand right here and wait," Julie said, reaching across Lucille's desk and reclaiming the folder as her own. She held it under her arm as the elevator light began lowering. "What do you think, you could just barge in here and do whatever you want?" Lucille spat. Julie ignored her. The elevator floor indicator, 10, 9, 8. You think you're going to expose anything here? You won't. They won't let you leave." Julie heard a click behind her. Her head on a swivel, she looked over her shoulder. The front doors. She turned back to Lucille, whose face was plastered with a wicked, triumphant grin. "You're dead. Might as well be standing in front of a firing squad," she said. 3, 2, 1. Ding. The doors parted. An older man, mid-60s maybe, walked out and into the lobby. He wore a blue plaid dress shirt, tan tie, and white lab coat. The cursive stitching over the breast pocket read Dr. Bradley Kessler, M.D. A balding scalp glistened in between oceans of short black hair, the roots showing gray. Clearly he was in need of a fresh dye. His gray mustache perked up as he offered a friendly, cordial, even welcoming smile. "I hear there's some kind of confusion down here. Hopefully I can sort everything out," he faced Julie. "Hello, I'm Bradley Kessler." He stuck out his hand. Gray strands poked out the back, making him look vaguely ape-like. His hand and wrist was pocked and marked up and down with red inflamed petechia. She shook it, cold and rough. "Julie," she said, cursing the crack in her voice. "It's a pleasure. Are you nervous?" he said, his eyebrows raising. His cheeks puffed slightly as his smile deepened. Julie didn't react. He said, "It's okay. Everyone is the first time. Trust me, there's no need to be." "What's the Child Advancement Division?" Kessler turned to Lucille, releasing his grip on her hand and spreading his arms wide like bird wings. "Why, we don't beat around the bush, do we?" He laughed, and as if on cue, she joined in. Julie remained stoic, silent. He clapped once. "If you'd like, I'd be happy to schedule a tour for you. Our facilities are state-of-the-art, and I'd love to show you around sometime later." He checked his watch. "Right now, I have some matters to attend to in my lab. My research is quite intensive. I'm sure you can understand that." "No, I want to see what you're up to," Julie shouted. Kessler stood his ground but held his hands up defensively, turning to speak to Lucille. "By golly, she's as mad as a wet hen," he laughed. "Well, if you insist, I suppose I can spare you a few minutes. Follow me." He breezed past Julie and started walking up the shiny marble stairs. As Julie turned to follow, she glanced back at Lucille, who, with one hand, placed her thumb underneath her neck, jutted her chin out, then sliced the thumb across, insinuating a slit throat. Julie shuddered as the receptionist smiled and waved. She picked up the phone and began speaking into it as Julie ascended the stairs behind Kessler. He turned over his shoulder. "So, Julie, what brings you to the Bradley Institute?" "Questions." "Oh, and what answers do you think I can give you?" "All of them." "Give, for instance." "Why do you abduct children from schools and send them here?" Kessler winced as they reached the second-level reception area. "I think that's a strong verb, don't you?" "No. Why?" "We don't abduct children, Julie." She waggled a folder in his face. "This says you do." She struggled to keep herself calm. "And just what is that? I assume medical records of my patients? Financials? You know that possession of both of those constitute felony crimes, don't you?" When Julie didn't reply, Kessler looked down, shook his head, and smiled. "Wait here. Sit. Make yourself comfortable." He pointed to another white plastic chair. With great trepidation, Julie lowered herself onto the hard surface. "I'll be right back with our tour guide. She's great, you'll love her," Kessler said. With that, he spun and strode down a hallway. His dress shoes clicked sharply against the floor as he disappeared. Julie sat and waited, and waited, and waited. She glanced at her watch. 10 minutes already. She was about ready to stand up and explore when a flash of movement caught her eye. She glanced over and stopped breathing. "Oh my God! Faye?" "Addie!" Julie was dumbstruck. What were they doing here? "Jules!" Faye began, a melancholy expression oozing sympathy and compassion. I don't know where to begin." What the hell are you doing here?" Julie shouted, storming to her feet. "Julie, please, language," Faye snapped, covering Addie's ears with her hands. "No, you don't get to take her to a place like this and complain about me." She stomped over to the pair of them. Faye's eyes widened as she reflexively pushed the whimpering Addie behind her. "Stop! You're scaring her!" "Why is she here?" "Jules!" "No! Why is my niece here?" CAD, isn't it? Julie fumbled through the folder again, pulling out the sheet with the initials and schools on it. CM, Leary, AE, Leary, DP, Leary. Holy crap! AE, Addie Isley! It had been right in front of her the whole time and she missed it. Faye nodded, puffing out her chest defiantly. It's the best place for her. Are you out of your mind? They kidnap children and run experiments on them. Julie was apoplectic, a raging, wild, uncontrollable woman. The initial sheet flew out of her hand and fluttered to the floor. Faye shook her head, genuinely baffled. What in the world are you talking about? That's not what happens at all. Here, look. She tugged Addie forward, showing the girl in her pink winter coat. Does she look hurt? Damaged? Does she have a missing eye or no teeth? No, Jules, she's fine. CAD has helped her. Isn't that right, sweetie? Addie nodded meekly. They make me smarter. It's easier to remember and do things. She was a chatterbox before CAD. Now, she pays attention in class, gets straight A's. She's everything I knew she could be, and now the sky's the limit. Faye beamed down at her daughter. Julie noticed a small circular band-aid on the girl's upper forearm. A vaccine? What's that? Julie asked, pointing it out. Faye looked at it and smiled. Just her monthly injection. It's nothing, Jules. Just what Burke had told her only days ago. But what is it? What are they injecting her with? Julie screamed. Just then, a pair of tall, muscular security guards flanked her. She tried to run, but they grabbed her by the arms and yanked her off the ground. They stuffed her into a wheelchair and began fastening wide, leather straps around her body, both wrists and ankles. Julie fought and writhed, but was completely immobilized. Sorry, miss, one of the guards said to Faye. You're free to leave. This woman won't bother you or your daughter again. Wait, she's my sister. What are you going to do with her? Boss wants her to calm down before she hurts herself or someone else. We'll sedate her, let her recover, then send her home. Will I have to sign anything? No, we'll take care of everything. Outpatient. She'll be out within the hour. Thank you, Faye said. Her and Addie strolled past. Julie screamed for them to come back, to listen, but they disappeared as they descended the stairs. Just then, Kessler reappeared, a long phlebotomy needle nestled in his latex-gloved hand, full with some clear liquid. Just relax, he said. Hands steadied her thrashing neck. She tried to bite, but there were no fingers in reach of her mouth. She screamed as the needle punctured her neck. She felt the fluid push into her. Her vision blurred around the edges, then went black. Julie awoke to snapping inches from her face. She blinked. Once, twice. A third time to clear the cobwebs. She tried to speak, but her jaw had been wired shut. She could feel the metal coils with her tongue. She tried to move, but realized that she was still strapped into the wheelchair. There we are. How are you feeling? Kessler asked, then laughed at himself. Well, I guess that's going to have to be rhetorical now, isn't it? He paused, then continued. I don't know why I'm doing this, but since you're so far down your little rabbit hole, I might as well stop dangling the carrot and let you munch. Not like it'll matter. You won't ever leave this institute again, but just for fun. Perhaps my own amusement. I'll show you around. He walked behind her and gripped the handles of the wheelchair. He began pushing her. You have a million questions, I'm sure. So let me start with something personal. You've been watched, no doubt. We have deep connections with various intelligence agencies that have no issue with harassing you and invading your privacy. The CIA and FBI are all aware of us and help us achieve our goals. That letter you received clearly didn't have its intended effect, which is a shame. Now let's move on to your most pressing questions. Why am I abducting children? Let me start by saying that the initial goal of CAD, that is the Child Advancement Division, was to increase the baseline intelligence in school-aged children. Imagine a society where we can take a mentally handicapped kid, think drooling on his desk, staring into space or pissing himself, and turn him into a functional member of society. When he grows up, he can marry, have kids, have a life. He stopped at an assortment of glass windows. Julie's eyes widened as she stared into the operating room. A boy, she recognized him as David, getting injected with some sort of drug cocktail. A gaggle of nurses, all in white coats, surrounded him, each with needles. The boy stared off into space, but whether he was intubated or brain dead, she wasn't sure. Kessler answered her, though, as if he could read her mind. "This boy came to us very recently. This is the most mild side effect. We call it brain death, but you might know it better as zombification. Essentially, he has lost all motor skills. He's an empty shell, a husk. So tragic." He wheeled her on. "This occurs in approximately 20% of our subjects. It's gotten much lower since 1948. We started off in the high 70% range. You might be wondering, well, what is it we inject them with? CID protocol involves the administration of a proprietary neuroenhancement serum formulated to stimulate endogenous production of brain-derived neurotrophic factors, enhance synaptic plasticity, and optimize executive cognitive functions. The treatment utilizes a recombinant viral vector delivery system to upregulate genes associated with memory retention, focus, and learning efficiency. In layman's terms, it encourages accelerated neurogenesis, strengthens neural pathways, and elevates the child's cognitive potential beyond normative developmental thresholds." He stopped pushing the wheelchair and whispered in her ears. "In simpler terms, it's a little shot that helps children learn faster, remember more, and focus better. It makes their brains healthier and smarter. Think of it like fertilizer for a growing mind. Our results have been nothing short of miraculous. A 60-point increase in IQ across the board. And like I said earlier, it makes anyone baseline, but it can take a normal person like you and turn you into a genius overnight. 1 injection per month and you're debating Einstein on relativity theories." They moved on down the hall. "Regrettably, sometimes the side effects of our serum lead to unexpected complications." He stopped at more windows. Julie died inside when she saw the horrors that lay within. 3 girls, their bodies twisted and deformed like a pair of Siamese. Not twins, but triplets. Their arms entangled together like vines along a brick wall. Their heads converging like tater tots that got stuck together in a fryer. Their legs and bodies interconnected and interwoven like some sick kind of art sculpture. The body twitched every so often. An incomprehensible amount of rubber tubes ran into the body. Kessler laughed behind her. "Oh, don't feel too bad, Julie. They're sedated. Besides, this is a mere anomaly. It has only happened once, and only when we combined the old formula with a newer experimental one. For our volunteers, we give them the tested, safe, proven serums, the formulas that have little to no side effects. For the reassigned children, think the deplorable, no-good kids that can't even bother to speak our language, or are born with genetic, mental, or physical ailments. We research on them. But it's not as bad as it sounds. We always use painkillers, give them TVs, books, and 3 meals a day. And here for the greater good, Julie. Just imagine a world where everyone is intelligent. Think of the things we'd accomplish. You think the moon landing was a big deal? That will be nothing when my serum is implemented throughout the world. Now you might be wondering about family situations for the reassigned kids, and that is the hardest part of my job. You see, a family gets too indignant, asks too many questions, which they all do. We have to dispose of them, silence them. Their sacrifice is like their children, for the greater good of society." Finally, he reached the end of the hall. He stopped pushing and walked around to face Julie. "I give these children a clean slate, Julie. I offer them something no one else can. Usefulness. Think, how many children live, breathe, eat, and die as elderly cripples and accomplish nothing? I can't count that high. But now, their lives have meaning, purpose. And now," Kessler smiled sadistically, "so do you." Julie pleaded through her wired mouth, but nothing but moans escaped. Kessler clapped again. "That's right. Now I have my first adult subject. And there's a whole host of serums I want to try out on you. And put his finger to his chin, as if deep in thought. Since you've given me a headache, I don't think any painkillers are in your future. His smile was devilish, evil, and sadistic. Julie began to sob. Oh, don't feel so bad, he said, walking back around and wheeling her down a new hallway. You'll be kept safe and sound. He pushed her into a large operating room where a trio of nurses stood, examining a ghastly instrument pile. Scalpels, needles, rubber tubes, forceps, pliers, and other medieval-looking devices splayed out over the metal table. To the nurses, Kessler said, Okay, let's get her on the gurney. Julie was unstrapped from the chair and promptly secured onto the gurney. The bright ceiling lights burned into her retinas as Kessler stood over her. Just remember, he said, patting her on the shoulder, as a hellishly painful fluid was inserted into her veins. You're doing this for the greater good. Julie Isley howled as she underwent the tortures of the damned. And that's the end of this part, and therefore the end of this series. I hope you enjoyed Clean Slate by Jarrett. What a fantastic series. It's a little bit different from the ones we normally do, I would think, don't we? But I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know, because surely you'll be watching. And, well, if you want to hear all of this in one big foul swoop, that will be coming too when I put all these together. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you to my patrons for helping make this episode and series possible. Thank you for liking this video. Subscribe if you would like to live forever. And if you're anywhere else like Spotify, follow for the same effect. Actually, I think following on Spotify might do a forever times two. So I thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. Take care now. Bye-bye then.